All right, guys, technical issue there. This is Chris with Drop Dice. So it's been a little while, and I realized that today is Thursday. It should have been World Building Wednesday. Unfortunately, my head's been kind of swimming around between my classes right now that I'm taking during the summer, and getting everything set up for the new 3 Feet from Death Legend of the Five Rings game. Um, so we're doing our world building Thursday because I want to make sure that I don't skip it again because I know that that's a downward slope if I don't skip it. I'd rather put it out late than to skip it entirely if I can. So let's kind of knock out some announcements first. First off, we are up to 103 subscribers, so we did make it to that 100 subscriber mark. I'll have to think of something special to do for the channel for that 100 subscriber mark. If you do happen to have any suggestions of what you'd like to see, go ahead and throw it in the comments of this video here. But I just want to give a quick shout out to everybody who has been watching the videos, commenting, subscribing, contacting me via other social media. I've been helping out with a couple other people with their worlds and stuff getting set up. And so my schedule's been pretty jam-packed lately, and I really need to spend more time on Legend of the Five Rings to get it all set up. So the second announcement I have for Legend of the Five Rings is, unfortunately, my computer software is not good enough to stream. So the idea of going to Twitch is not going to happen. I still have a Twitch channel, and I will probably play Heroes of the Storm on there just because I like playing just little silly games, and I may stream other things in the future. But essentially for Legend of the Five Rings, what the plan is I'm going to do our game through Roll20, just like I normally do every week, but instead I'm going to do XSplit on my end, record directly to my personal computer, and then I'm going to load up the file after we're done playing and it's done being recorded over to YouTube, which I'm going to try and break into probably hour-long sections. That way it's not a huge, gigantic file going on YouTube. I'll probably release, because usually a game's going to be about 2 to 3 hours in that range. I'll probably break it up into like 3 sections is my plan, and then put all 3 sections up at the same time so that you guys can watch those. And it will be underneath that Legend of the Five Rings playlist that I just started. So make sure you guys tune into that. Sorry, I've got that puppy that's new, and he's messing with stuff, so I'm trying to figure out what he's doing. Havelock, come here. Come here, buddy. Sorry about that, guys. Puppies are fun. If you haven't had one before, they're kind of a mess. But so essentially what we're going to do is just do the local recording and then release that to you guys. And I think that's going to be a better way to do it, because we found out that basically if I streamed it, I was getting some dropped frame rates and my audio was coming through clear, but you couldn't actually see what was going on the cameras too well. And I felt like that was kind of cheating the viewer. So the idea is that we're going to try and record directly and then give you the best quality show that we can provide. So as kind of a heads up, I told my guys what I expect of it. This is going to be a little bit more serious than Beer and Pretzels, but it is not full tilt. Everyone is an actor style player. It's going to be a little bit more serious RP than what you may have seen with stuff like Titan's Grave. It's definitely going to be more serious than that, but it's not going to be a full-blown, we're here getting our master's degree in theater or something like that. It's just not the way that we typically play. And I like to think that we're kind of in an in-between game. We have a lot of fun, but it is still a serious toned game for us. So make sure you check that out. Now, back to world building. So for world building, I mentioned it last time. Essentially what I'm doing now is I'm creating a race kind of associated with a previous character I had in a game, or at least played in a game with. Our friend Jeremy, who you guys will see him on Legend of the Five Rings, he played a Rhino person who ended up worshiping a character in the party who became a god, or at least assumed he was a god before he actually became a god. But the Rhino person in the group, we always joked around and said he's just a really ugly half-orc, to kind of explain what he was, at least what he looked like. And so what I'm going to do is I wanted to kind of do it a little bit of justice since my players will probably play in this world at some point, and I'm going to go ahead and create a Rhino person race. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just getting the stuff ready right now to go ahead and make a race template for them and get up the race guide, and then we'll go ahead and start talking about what we're going to do for them. So let me get this set up real quick here. And I will put Rhino people for now. And I will talk to Jeremy and see what he wants to name them. That way we can get it some sort of name that that makes sense. All right, so let me do a quick share screen with you guys, and we can take a look and see what we're doing. By the way, I'm going to show you guys one other thing inside here. All right, before we get too much further, there is a Dragon Ball Z D4 game, and I played it earlier today. I played the old beta testing version. This is the new beta testing version. It uses D10s. It's actually a lot of fun. We just played a session today, and we're probably going to play a off-camera game of Dragon Ball Z for at least a little while to kind of play with it and have some fun. But I thought you guys might be interested in seeing this. The company that makes it is called The Cream Games. And if you just Google Dragon Ball Z RPG, The Cream Games, it should come up right away. It'll probably take you to their Twitter page. But the newest one is actually on their Facebook page, which is version 0.4. And it's in alpha testing. But it is well enough to be able to run a game without any real problems, to kind of let you know. All right, so let's kind of go back to the Rhino people here. So just like before, we're going to kind of ignore this first page. I feel like the fluff comes a little bit more naturally later, and I'll do a video talking about fluff a little bit later on that one. I want to more work out how I want the mechanics to go. So for this race, I am thinking that so our birdmen are sitting there in that 5.5 to kind of 6 range. Our Garuda are close to the 8 range, so they're comparable to the dwarves. And then our birdmen are kind of close to that 7 range, if I remember right. I'd have to double check here. Let's see, what are the mystics? Looks like it didn't copy it down, but regardless, I know that they're inside that point range. The Rhino people, I think what we're going to do is put them a little bit closer to about 6. 6 is going to be our target number here. So what I'm going to do is racial traits. I'm just going to put a 6 right here just to kind of remind me of what I am shooting for. Okay. So for ability score increases, it's going to be I'm thinking the Rhino people shouldn't have sub races, and they should just come from a standard race, which is a little bit different than what we've done previously, because all the other races that we've done previously, they all have some sort of sub race going with them. Let me double check. Do the Mystics? See, it's been a while since I've actually opened up the Stratmur stuff and worked with it. Looks like the Mystics do not have a sub race, which is fine. I think the Rhino people should fall under that not having a sub race kind of feel as well. And what I'm thinking is, because they are going to be our conservative tough guy in the world, thinking they need a 2 Constitution, and let's see. And how about we increase strength by 1? Okay, I'm going to ignore age and alignment for now. I'm just going to put a side note here that typically they're going to be lawful. Actually, let's make them typically good. We'll come back to that. I'll fluff that up a little bit more. Height and size, we'll ignore that for now. Base speed is 30 feet, and I'm going to keep that there. I'm thinking about possibly changing that and making them a little bit slower, but let's take a look at some of the other stuff here. So for the point system here, let's take a look here. Because one of the things that I thought about doing was making them large. I mentioned that in the Horns of Ceranos game, I am playing a large character, and it's pretty powerful in combat. But on the flip side, he has a hard time with buildings. He's kind of persecuted for his size. I don't know that the Rhino people would necessarily be persecuted for their size, but having to accommodate for a creature that's twice the size, basically you have to eat twice the rations, that sort of thing, it actually does kind of come up and be problematic to begin with. Let's take a look here. So large isn't on the list. For now, I'm not going to use large. I think I still want to test it out a little bit more in the Horns of Ceranos game, and really see how it affects combat, and see if it goes out of control. For now, what I'm thinking is, because they are supposed to be our conservative tough guy, I'm thinking brave is probably a pretty good thing for them. In honor of Jeremy's character, I'm thinking that they should have like shield proficiency as part of who they are. Basically, his character was a stalwart defender, and I'm basically using him as kind of the iconic for what this race is about, and that's why I said they should mainly be good. Let's take a look here. Natural armor, which wouldn't be a bad choice either. Tool proficiency, weapon training. Here we go, armor training. It is 0.5 to 2. Let's take a look here. Okay, so one level of armor proficiency would cost 0.5. So if I want them to have, let's say, medium armor proficiency right out the bat, that's going to be 0.5 for light and 0.5 for medium, so a total of 1, and then the shield would make it 1.5. And I think that's pretty good. So let's go ahead and grab that, copy it over. So armor training. And this is going to be with light, medium, and medium armor and shields, which I'll clean that up grammatically a little bit later. Okay. Now, until I name this race, I'm going to put Rhino speak, but it will give them an official language eventually, and that is 1.5. This is 3. And let's give them the Brave, which is another 0.5. So that is 2, 5 total. So we're pretty close to that 6 already. So we've got this idea that they are brave, armored type people. Let's take a look and see if we can find a 1-point thing to kind of round them out. Dark vision is pretty handy, and I don't think I have too many dark vision people right now, so that may not be a bad way to go. Let me look at this one. Standard vision for our Mystic race. Our Garuda have dark vision. Damage immunity, vulnerability, resistance. We'll leave that out for now. I don't see innate magic being necessary, or languages for that matter. I could maybe give him a gore attack. That might not be a bad option. There's a natural weapon here. Or toughness wouldn't be a bad option. That's 1.5. That'll put it just 0.5 over the 6 that we're looking at right now, which wouldn't be a bad placement in there. Kind of keeps us close to our target number without going too extreme. Let's take a look at natural weapon chart here real quick. Natural weapon of a D6, which is what I would put the gore at, be 1 point. Yeah, that might not be a bad way to do it. So let's give them a gore attack. So natural weapon. This is worth 1.0. Which it deals a D6 piercing damage. So we don't need our numbers anymore because we're right at 6. This looks pretty good. And make this all 12. Then it does not need sub races, so we can take those out of there. Now, if you haven't had a chance to see it, I am going to bring up Jarl DM's channel because his website, because he actually has something kind of cool that I want to take a look at it and see how it stacks up here. He's got a special move that the Jarl Jotun can use. He also has a really cool website. If you guys haven't seen his stuff here, like you can see it now. Let's go ahead and enter his website here and go over to the Horns of Serenos game. So this is the part of the website that talks about the game that I'm participating in. But the thing that I am looking for is the Jarl Jotun. So here is the Jotun. Custom content. Let's go ahead and click in there. So he's got a whole bunch of, this is kind of what I was talking about with the World Builder series, is doing stuff like this. Like, because it's a Viking game, he's got stuff like House Carl, Seer, things that are very particular to that specific game. And they're just minor changes to little backgrounds that he did. And then there are some custom races, which we're doing right now. So it's definitely worth seeing. So here is the Jarl Jotun. This is the one that I was talking about here, the Unstoppable Charge. So Jarl Jotun are famed for their ability to break battle lines, smash through the staunchest of defenders. As an action, they can use Unstoppable Charge action in place of movement action. You can move up to your movement speed towards the enemy. If towards an enemy you can see and make an attack. If you reach the enemy, you get +5 damage to your attack. The enemy must make a dexterity 8 plus strength or be knocked back 5 feet. You can use this feature once per short rest. I actually really like the way that that one is done. That's probably one of my favorite things about being Jarl Jotun, and maybe that makes more sense than doing the gore attack that we're talking about. I mean, it gives them +5 to damage. They can use it once per combat effectively because they can take a short rest between if they have time. And the save isn't too ridiculously high. I mean, it's an 8 plus strength modifier. And that's the only thing I have about that's kind of a complaint is the fact that your proficiency bonus doesn't get added into that. And I'm not sure that there is a core race that has anything that is quite the equivalent so that I can compare it. Let me grab my player's handbook and see if there's anybody who starts with some sort of ability that's got a DC like that. Let's see. So the first thing that comes to mind is it's quite possibly the magic here. Okay, sorry about that. I just heard the thing click off, so I wanted to go ahead and reset that there. So let's see. Languages, subraces, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let's see. Here's Drow Magic. It says you use your spellcasting ability for these. But I'm looking to see how they determine the DC for it, which I'm not seeing there. Let's try somebody else who's got some magic or something. Nimble, blah, blah. Stout resistance, human. So let's see. Resistance. Charisma is your spellcasting ability. So pretty much every class that has a DC save for something is 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus the modifier that's appropriate. So, and I kind of like that because it does keep it competitive, and it grows as you go through stuff. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm totally just going to jack this from my good buddy, Jarl DM here, and we're going to use that for the Rhino people instead of having the natural weapon. And let's fix this so the color is right. All right. And we'll put something like race here. And for the ability to break battle line, blah, blah, blah. And it's going to be 8. DC is 8 plus proficiency bonus plus strength modifier. That will give us a little bit more flexibility. That's really my one thing about the charge is without that proficiency bonus, it's a static number. And it kind of loses its effectiveness at higher levels because sure, at level 1 to DC 10 is pretty good when you get to higher levels. At DC 10 is really not going to pay off, and you're not going to be able to do the push that off or that knockback too often. So I think by making that little change right there, it'll allow you to do the knockback a little bit more often in the future. And let's go ahead and highlight Rhino speak here. So basically what we're looking at is this doesn't have a point value associated with it. And there's not really a skill or a racial ability that quite matches up with it. Because there's not really anything that gives you kind of a once per short rest type of ability. But if I look at like innate magic, it's 1 to 1.5. So I think it's fairly safe to say, I mean, even a breath weapon here, let's see. Yeah, see, a breath weapon, here's one. It's 8 plus your con modifier plus your proficiency bonus. And let's see, blah, blah, blah. After using your breath weapon, you cannot use it again until completing a short or long rest. So basically, it's kind of a variation of a breath weapon, but flavored to be a little bit more charge focused is what we're looking at. So a breath weapon is about 1 point here. So that seems pretty viable to have it as a 1 point ability. And instead of having a cone or a line type of damage, they get the pushback ability. And we're going to have 8 plus the applicable modifier, which in this case is going to be strength plus proficiency, and that should make it pretty viable there. I mean, I could instead change it to where it's like creature takes maybe like some sort of stair step thing, like this one is like on a failed save they take. Okay, well that really only works with the breath weapon, because the way it works, this for the charge ability they have to hit to be able to do the +5 to damage, which +5 to damage is pretty huge. I don't know that I necessarily need to increase it and say +10 to damage, but if I really want that brutal effect, maybe at level 6 it goes to +10 to damage, at level 11 it goes to +15, and then level 16 +20. But I feel like that's going to be pretty extreme. Just because of how much damage you get added for that one assault, but it is kind of your one ace in the hole kind of ability. I think for now we're going to keep it at the +5. If I think it should go up from there, I'll figure out like a stair step that makes sense. But that should definitely work out pretty good. Or maybe we could change like how far they're knocked back. Keep the damage the same, but instead change from 5 feet to 10 feet to 15. That could actually make it pretty cool. All right. And we're going to go with size medium for now. Okay. Good. Okay. So just to kind of recap, we've got 2 Constitution, 1 Strength. Their alignment leans a little bit more towards good. They are medium size. Their base speed is 30 feet. They have armor training in light and medium armor, as well as shields. And then let's see, they have the Brave feature, which gives them advantage versus Frightened. And then they also have the Unstoppable Charge, which we are going to just take, like I said, straight from Jarl GM's channel or website here. I am also going to link this website inside the comments for this one. If I do not, and you want to check it out yourself, it is jarldm.com. And you should see an entry page kind of like this where it's going to cycle through some stuff. Like I said, he spent a good amount of time. Here's the spelling on that if you need it for Jarl DM. And like I said, I will include it inside the notes for this one. He's got a lot of cool stuff. If you are especially interested in Viking stuff, Lloyd has done quite a bit of work getting that stuff arranged for his own game. And so, take advantage of the tools that are presented for you. All right, so let me go ahead and stop that here. And okay, so we're back. that's pretty much it for the Rhino race right now. I have an idea of how I want them, just to kind of describe it to you guys. Essentially, I want them to be a kind of like quasi-religious, but they're kind of stoic type people. They have an immense amount of battle capability, which is why I think having that unstoppable charge feature should be something that they should have. But they don't necessarily practice it all the time. They're more concerned with protecting the things that they love, and which is where that conservative tough guy idea comes from. Is kind of like dwarves. Yeah, they can be in your face, but they don't have to be in your face all the time. And I think that'll be a kind of a fun race to play. I'm gonna go ahead and let Jeremy give some comments on this video, because it is basically a race that I'm building off of a character he previously did, and I want to hear his opinion about what he thinks he likes, what he doesn't like, and see what we can get. If you guys have any opinions as well, go ahead and put them as notes inside or as comments down below for this one. I mentioned it before, this weekend, Sunday, L5R will be our first game. The videos themselves will probably go on my channel on Monday because the way that we're recording now. So keep an eye out for that. I will be releasing them. I will upload them one at a time, so there will be a little bit of a break between. So if you want to just check the channel on Tuesday, everything should be up and running by then, so that you guys can watch them straight through. Like I said, I'll probably break them up into 3-part segments just to make it easy for the channel. That is pretty much what I've got for you guys today. If you are interested in anything that Stratmur has done so far, seeing the world once it's fully done, I'm working out the mechanics, because I think in my head, working mechanics and getting the game solidified enough to be able to play is more important than necessarily working out the fluff, because I can talk to my players and I can create fluff with them. Having the mechanics down really helps kind of guide things as far as like where I want the world to go and what kind of world I want. And part of the reason I'm setting the mechanics aside, or the fluff aside, is because I think the fluff kind of writes itself as we discover each race. I mentioned it before, this is going to be my last animal related race because I didn't really want to have too many. I've got the bird people, I've got the rhino people now, and then I've got my mystics, which are kind of weird tall humanoid things. I've got humans, halflings, and I still got to work out how I'm going to do a template in D&D 5th edition. If you guys have any ideas or can point me in a direction of somebody's example, that'd be great. If not, I'll have to work something out. That way we can have hags as being a template. We can add that to pretty much any race. What I'm thinking is I will create a 1-point ability that you can tack on to any race, with the exception of maybe the Garuda, since they're already pretty expensive. Maybe just the Garuda don't have the ability to become hags. I'll have to play with it some more and kind of figure that out. But maybe they have like just a 1-point ability that gets them minor spell casting or something like that. I think that's probably how I'll do it, just to make it easy. So you can tack it on to anything and give them like very, very minute, almost warlock-like abilities. All right, guys, that is it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for 100 subscribers, and I will see you guys at the gaming table.